Nkonki will from today host the 4th Annual Audit Committee Conference in Sandton. The event provides much-needed scrutiny and recognition of the work done by these professionals in government and private operations. The Chief Executive Officer of Nkonki, Sindi Zilwa, is in studio with me. Good morning, Cindy. It's good to have you in studio. Welcome.
Thank you.
All right, so the idea of a system to highlight the work of audit committees was very welcomed 4 years ago. Take us back to then. Why bring something like this about?
You know, the problem is that audit committees, they are the cornerstone of governance in most of the companies. And they've got a huge oversight challenge. But when the regulations and the legislation and the case law was bringing the responsibilities of the audit committees to the limelight, there was no accompanying, enabling training that would be available to audit committees. So as Nkonki, we decided that the most important thing is to enhance the ability for audit committee members to be able to discharge their oversight responsibilities. For instance, this year, the theme of our conference is enhancing the oversight intelligence. Yeah. And we don't do that just by taking experienced audit committee members, but we even bring the CFOs who have to tell them what is it that you must look at to make sure that we're doing our work okay. We also bring the CAEs. So in that way, when we do things like those and we demonstrate and we bring simulated audit committees, they can see for themselves, they can hear for themselves. And every year when people walk out of their conference, out of our conference, audit committee members, they feel really empowered that they can actually discharge their duties effectively.
Let's talk about some of the challenges that are facing auditors now in South Africa.
I think the most or the biggest challenge is that audit committee members have an oversight responsibility. They are not full-time employees. Maybe meetings are 4 to 5 times a year if it's a busy company. But during those 5 meetings, they must be able to have the mind, the eye, and the ability to see what could be going wrong and be able to make sure that the control environment of the company is okay, and that is very difficult to accomplish.
Okay. Now, when we look at these audit committees, who sits in them?
Most of them, in terms of the law, it prescribes that you need people with the finance function or finance capabilities. For instance, most chartered accountants would be sitting on audit committees. You need legal minds to be sitting on audit committees. But most importantly, where people get it wrong is that if the nature of the industry is that of, say, an insurance or a banking or whatever, you also need the skills of somebody who's an industry expert, because the technical ability from an accounting perspective with a hollow industry base is not going to make you an effective audit committee member.
Yeah. Let's talk about state-owned entities. And then we'll move on to municipalities as well. But I want to sort of focus on something like the post office. We see what's going on at the post office right now with audit committees such as, you know, the one that we're talking about right now. Surely we shouldn't get to a position that we are in with the post office. What about state-owned entities? How is the performance there?
I think the most important thing is that the role of the audit committees is across the board. Whether you are in banking or state-owned companies or parastatals or municipalities is basically the same thing. And also the other thing to actually highlight is that audit committees, if for instance there is a going concern problem or cash flow problems, the audit committee can highlight that. And the shareholder ministry's responsibility is to make sure that if there are developmental objectives allocated to a particular state-owned companies, then insufficient funding is made available so that a particular SOC will be able to carry out that responsibility. And what we see happening, for instance, to the post office is not unique. It's something that's a challenge across most state-owned companies, because it's the balancing of the profitability, the developmental objectives, and the ability of the shareholder to inject the required funding for them to be able to carry out their functionality. So coming back to the audit committees then, they will not come with a magic wand to say, we're the audit committee, we're effective, here's the money. But it's more to say our oversight, are things all in place? If there's anything coming, are we able to come about with solutions and make sure that management is alert to it, the finance function is alert to it, the internal audit function? So it's more all that. But the other thing that's important is how you monitor the effectiveness of the functions. Previously, audit committees could sit back and say, I've got external auditors, this is going to happen. Or maybe I've got a qualified CFO, it's going to happen. But the most critical element is the oversight and the monitoring capability to say, is the finance function doing what's expected? Are these auditors independent? Are they giving me the right answer? And so on. So it's beyond just taking what's given to you. It's to have the eye to penetrate deeply and see if what is given to you is covering everything, it makes sense according to the level of knowledge that you actually have. And that's what we aim to accomplish over the next 3 days.
So we talk state enterprises, and it's exactly the same for municipalities,
exactly.
what you've just
said.
There
is no difference.
Well, we wish you the best of luck over these next few days. Thank you for talking to us, taking the time out. Sindi Zilwa is the CEO of Nkonki, and today hosting the 4th Annual Audit Committee Conference in Sandton.
Thanks,
Thank you.
Leanne.
That's an absolute pleasure. Thank you. Let's take a look at your market indicators very quickly now on this Monday morning.